So I'm recording. Richard's back. Okay, let me see if I can get live on Facebook.
What? Now. Or they weren't. All right,
Okay, give it a second. It's because it's going to be live on Javan.
Hey, I thought you lived in North Carolina.
Who?
Patty.
Patty.
I had to unmute. Yeah, I do live in North Carolina. I'm here visiting.
Oh, cool.
I took a trip.
That's cool. Down
See my
Upper
favorite
Alabama.
sign. Yeah, oh yeah.
All right, we are live and recording.
All righty, well, here we go. And welcome back to part 2 of the Written Undead's official podcast. We'll be coming to you today with me, Jack Childress, Angel Ramon, Richard Ryan Rose, Patty Fry Raccio, and our special guest this afternoon, the one and only Courtney Konstantin. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Hanging in there, hanging in there. So
Doing
what you
good.
got going? Oh, go ahead.
No, just saying you're doing good. Don't stop.
Oh, he's gonna start, guaranteed.
Gonna
You can't
start.
have
I'm gonna put
Javan on the show.
Out in the hallway if he starts.
So, Courtney, what you been up to lately?
Oh, just surviving, man, like everybody else. Trying to get writing done, but I was in Vegas for the 20 books thing, and so I'm trying to get back in the swing of things. You know, when you go out of town, it kind of screws you up for a while. So,
Oh, yeah. So now, when did you start writing originally?
I started my indie publishing career in 2017, and I mean, all the other stuff I did as a kid and everything else doesn't really matter. But 2017 was when I first started publishing my zombie stuff.
And what led you to decide to start putting words down?
I always wanted to be a writer. That was like my thing, just making up stories randomly because it seemed more fun to me than other stuff. I'm from the generation of when, video games weren't really a big thing. And so you had to make up your own kind of stuff to do. So I used to read a ton. And so when I started watching a lot of zombie movies and reading a lot of stuff, and it just kind of got me into it. I love zombies because I can make up whatever I want. No one can really tell me I'm wrong. So
Right.
it's just a really great way to create your own universe and make yourself happy and make like hiding yourself instead of dealing with the real world, basically.
Now, when you write your stories, are any of your characters based on real people?
No, and I get a lot of that actually because I am a mom I have 3 kids, and the first book is a mom of 2 kids, and she does live in Las Vegas, and I am from Las Vegas.
Mhm.
Everyone that knows me really well reads it as if it's me, and I think it's just because they know me. But no, I didn't really mean to base anybody on anyone specific.
Okay. Y'all boys got any questions?
Yeah, I
Except
do.
for Javan. Don't let Javan ask
No.
questions.
Don't worry.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
just
but I
here
got
for
a question,
free.
Courtney. Do you write or do you plan to write in other genres?
I hopefully will write in a different genre. I'm thinking about it. I've been doing some research. I think that one thing that I learned at the recent conference that I heard that someone actually say out loud, which I had never actually understood what was happening to me, is burnout. When you stick in the same universe for book after book after book with the same people, same characters, it tends to kind of feel like you're burning out. And so I've been doing some research maybe into romance or even zombie romance, which I know hardcore post-apoc people don't like, but there is a huge readership for that right now. And so I am doing some research in those places to kind of branch out and give myself a break from my Sundown series.
All right. Sounds good. Sounds good.
Interesting. I'm one of the few that actually like zombie romance. So
I got crap for it in some of my reviews for having, and not even a main piece of the story, just having basic romance that I think is just human nature in general.
yeah.
But people were like,
Yeah.
I'm not reading this for romance. I'm like,
I actually tried it. I actually tried a zombie romance with my series of Fist Survivor Wet Dreams, but it was more of a harem story, and I did get some crap for it too. I mean, yeah, look at Jack is like, yeah, I might to read that. Oh, don't worry, Jack. It's gonna be on sale on Monday for 99¢. So get hit up on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I understand where you're coming from, Courtney. Yeah, but I mean, you might have a little more success. But I mean, but I wish you luck with that.
yeah, thanks. Yeah, you have to go. I think it's definitely a different readership than what we typically see. I mean, post-apoc readers are hardcore. A lot of them are preppers. A lot of them are like super serious about that. They like their genre the way they like it. You cannot screw with it or they get real mad at you. So I'm thinking I'll be pushing it more towards romance people than post-apoc people.
All
I
right.
think you'll
I
do
got a
good
question.
with that.
I got a question. When you say zombie romance, what do you mean exactly? Two people fall in love during the zombie apocalypse, or a human and a
Yeah.
zombie fall in
Oh
love?
God, no.
Yeah,
never-
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no. I could never get behind Warm Bodies. Have you ever seen that, Rich? Warm
Yeah,
Bodies?
yeah.
Okay.
No,
Yeah,
no.
not that's way too far out for me. No, I'm more talking about just because I think that, I mean, 100%, I think that if you're in a, live or die situation, survival situation, if there's somebody that's protecting you or someone that is there for you, it is going to be natural to form some sort of connection with them.
Right.
And so I think romance is actually probably pretty normal during an apocalypse situation. So it would be two people falling in love during the zombie apocalypse. So it's kind of meshing the genres, but not having zombies be the main, thing.
Yeah,
But, I mean,
exactly. Mhm.
It's not necessarily zombies, but Kyla Stone, I read her book series where an EMP like kind of totally wiped out the whole, United States. And it was there was a few books where a romance kind of grew out of that. And I mean, I didn't mind that at all. I thought it was a really natural thing to happen.
Yeah.
In survival situations. So
I think it's fairly natural. I just think some people don't like you messing with their stuff.
Yeah.
So you just have to be careful who you're advertising it to.
yeah, I agree.
Well, I kind of subscribe to the old notion you don't have sex in a horror movie.
Yeah.
So it just seems like romance in a zombie universe, an apocalyptic universe is like bang, bang, dead.
Yeah, that's true
Yeah.
too. That is true. I mean, I am that person that screams at people for, every single Friday the 13th or anything, or Nightmare on Elm Street. Why are you having sex? You're being hunted. Like, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But,
Right.
Mhm. Or why are you running upstairs when there's someone in the house? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't go in there.
Yeah.
Run
Yeah, I
out
got
front,
flack for
people.
that. Believe me, I've gotten flack for that.
So
I
what
think
are
you're
you
talking
working-
about different readers. That's just the thing. So
So what have you got coming up in the future?
so I'm working on book 6 of my series, which is the Sundown series. I haven't released the title or anything on that just because I don't keep myself to deadlines. I know my readers hate that because I have a full-time job. Like I said, I've got 3 kids, I'm married, I've got a lot of shit going on. And so I don't keep myself to deadlines. And so I'm just trying to get this thing done. And it will wrap up this series for what I have planned for it right now, though I have plenty of characters I could spin off if I want to.
Cool. Now, do you keep up with your word count?
No, I should. I was supposed to be doing nano this month. Yeah, that didn't happen. I don't have time to write another, I think I got to 20,000 words for the month. I'm the type that I have to be in a certain mood to write. Some people can write no matter what, and I'm just not creative. Creativity doesn't flow through me that way. So if I sit down to write and I'm just like in a crappy mood, you'll get nothing but crap from me. And I can't do it. So I really have to find myself in the right place to be able to write. So a lot of times my words don't just flow. Some people are like, oh, I write thousands of words every day. I'm like, you're cool, but that's not who I am. So.
I'm pointing at Angel's picture right now.
Yeah, I know. He's ridiculous. I saw his post of, oh, I wrote 4,000 words or something in a day. And I was like, shut up, Angel.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't post that to make people feel bad, but
I know. I
You
know.
know, I mean, I'm home with my parents, take care of them. I mean, what else am I gonna do besides go nuts and go organize medicine and all that?
If I was at home with just my parents, I would do the same thing. So
You know,
don't blame you.
I guess for me as a fan, I'd never even thought of the concept of keeping up with a word count, you know, or even wondering how many words are actually in a book until I met Angel. And now it really fascinates me. That's why every time he posts, you know, 2,700 words, 3,800 words, whatever, I'm always like, damn, that's pretty cool. Now that, you know, I know that that's a thing, because to me, it was always how thick's the book.
Yeah.
That's all I needed to know. How many pages, how thick is it?
Yeah, I mean,
But
you know you might give him the dick, Jack, and I know you might give him dick, right?
oh yeah.
Books,
Now-
right? Books.
Yeah, books.
We're all talking books, right?
Yeah.
Books. We're
Books.
talking about
Books.
books, yeah. We're talking about books. Yeah, no. We're not getting into that. We're not getting into that of a subject there.
But we were just talking about romance. I just
I was
wanted
gonna say we were talking zombie
I know,
romance.
right?
Don't know how I would handle that.
No, word count's important. I know that, but you know, it's not everything. So
No.
but you have to get the words down to be able to get the book done. But I think that a lot of people don't understand. Anytime anyone asks me how many words are my book that aren't authors, they're always very astounded when I'm like, oh yeah, they range around 100,000 words. They're like, you do what? And I'm like, yeah, it's a lot. It's not something we just bang out. I mean, some people can in a week, but not everybody can. So
I mean, there are some people that they dread that they look at how many pages it is. Some people do like really long books. Don't get me wrong. There are people that just like them long and they just refuse to read anything too short. So you know that's why I'm on the lookout for. I try to get those readers, the ones who like them, you know, them long books.
Well, I don't know how well you can see it, but up on the shelf before you hit the very tip top of the shelf, that row is all of Javan's books. What makes them fascinating is that you start here and then you progressively do this until you finally reach this.
yeah, I think we're all like that. I think my first book was somewhere around 80,000 words. I didn't really know what the hell I was doing or what I was
Right.
planning on doing. And then everything after that has been over 100,000 words.
Right, you know.
So I think everybody kind of does that. I think the other thing for me has always been is for audio, I plan for audio. And because people want something that is going to be like 10 hours or so because they're spending their credit on that.
Yep.
And so I think about that too when I think of length of books, is this something that's going to be long enough in audio that readers are going to want to spend that credit on that?
I did the exact opposite with my first book. I just kept adding stuff as I went along, and that ended up like almost 170,000 words in my first book. So
That's
I'm
quite a
damn sure
lot.
glad. I'm damn sure glad you did, because that was a hell of a listen. I'm telling you now, it was a hell of a listen.
thank you.
And
Oh,
for
yeah,
me,
18
Jeff,
hours.
I started reading it on paperback. Oh man, you got a sense of humor, man. I love it. I love it.
I appreciate it.
it's just great. And see, I'm one of these, I only listen to audiobooks when I'm driving to and from work, or like earlier, I had to head out, run to the store. So I've been listening to Merrill David's Wicked Awake 2. Go get it if you haven't got it. And I would put it on. I listen. So I know I'm only going to get about 15, 20 minutes in, but it makes it last longer. And if it's already a long book on top of that, I don't have to worry about running out of something and having to start a series over or go track somebody down and try to get a new series going. And so a nice long audio book, then you only get to listen, say, an hour, hour and a half each day. You get a couple weeks out of just one book, and then you get a long series, and now you get months out of just this one
Yep.
series. So to me, you really get to absorb it, you know? So along the audiobook lines, now who does your narration?
I have Tess Irondale as my narrator. So I got picked up by Podium pretty early on. I don't do my audio indie. I didn't actually, when I started writing, I actually did not know that I could do my audio indie. So I didn't even attempt it. So I got picked up by Podium. So they've kept Tess Irondale as my narrator for all of my books. My books are third person, so a female narrator is fine, even though a couple of my books have male point of view. But since it's third person, you can do that. And she's done a really great job. She's all over the place with sci-fi, and I think she does romance too for Podium. So she's a pretty well-known narrator. I was pretty stoked to get her.
Oh,
How'd you get
right
picked up
on.
by Podium? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Jack.
That's okay.
Oh, you're fine.
I didn't hear you.
Yeah,
I need to be cut off.
How did you go about getting picked up for Podium? I submitted, something that never heard back on them, but
Rich, I'm just going to kind of say that I think I was just kind of lucky. I was in the right place at the right time kind of thing. I don't know. I just, when I put out my first book, I actually didn't think anyone was going to read it. It didn't have the greatest cover. It was just, I thought, you know what? I've always wanted to be a writer. I'm going to do this and I'm going to finish this. And I did it. And now I'm going to put it out there. And within a couple of months, they called me and they reached out and asked me if I was thinking about it. And I said, well, no, I didn't even actually know that was a thing I could do. And they've taken it since then. So it's, it's a traditionally published contract. So I know that I know for a fact from what, Javan said about what he makes on his, he makes a lot more money wise, but Podium has made it super simple for me. I wasn't even looking in the market to do it myself. So I'm okay with that, for this series.
okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
So when you got your first book cover, you said, you didn't put a lot into it. How do you come up with the cover art in your head? Because obviously it's got to have something to do with your story, but do you wind up with 5 or 6 different ideas, or is it you just lock in on this one thing? This is what I want people to see on the cover of this book. How do you go about that?
I should have grabbed one of them because I do have some of the old covers. I actually had a friend that did Photoshop, and he made more of a I shouldn't say cartoon because it is more of it was more of an animated cover than what you would traditionally see for post-apoc. I didn't know what I was doing. Okay, let's just be straight up and honest. I had no idea what I was doing. And so actually what ended up happening for me is that when Podium picked me up, they were and they were super polite about it, but they weren't wrong. They were like, your covers aren't bad, but can we redo them? And I said, sure. So now they're on brand. I knew what I wanted. I tell them every time, I give them the whole background of what I want for my cover, who's the point of view, what's the setting, what's happening. And then they send me something and I've never once had to tell them to change it. They've always gotten it, pretty on brand. I mean, you look at the ones that you have on your wall, we're pretty much all the same. We have our characters or some sort of character on the front and then something to do with the story. And, Urban Gridlock and mine are probably somewhat similar.
Okay. I'm not going to lie. I am biased in this way, but Richard's cover, how you reference, kind of cartoonish or whatever, that's what his is. And I love it. It brings the personality of his story to life because his isn't all serious,
It was definitely better than mine. It's definitely better than mine was.
I mean, I have it in paperback. I agree. I have it in paperback, so I absolutely agree with that.
As to me, the cover should tell a big part of the story because, you always say you're not supposed to judge a book by its cover. You can't judge a book by its cover, but I'm sorry. If you put the right cover on a book, you can, because you get a little piece of what you're going to be reading right there before you ever turn the first page. So to me, a cover is so hyper important, which again, this is why they hang on the wall because they're beautiful.
Yeah, I wish I would have grabbed some of my books that I wasn't sure what you were going to want during this. I wish I would have grabbed one of the originals so you would see mine were not good, but this is what the first one looks like now. I mean, it's the individual female because she's the protagonist. The background has got, an explosion. It's obviously dystopian or post-apocalyptic looking, but you don't have zombies on it because, my books are very character driven. They're not plot driven. So I've always focused highly on the family aspect of the characters and what they're doing, not so much. I mean, there's one of my books, the big threat is human. It's not zombie, so my books don't look like zombie novels, but they look post-apoc.
Excellent. So when you finally got your first book out and you got it in audio book form and it's all out there, what was your stress level like?
It was through the roof. Because it was I threw this out there. I thought, cool, I did this book. I wrote a book. I'm so proud of myself. I published it myself. I was super, and then I went, oh crap, people want more. Oh, I see how this works now. Like I just like all of a sudden, but in the beginning, I think this is where I come up with the whole getting just getting burnt out on a story. In the beginning, I published a lot faster than I do now. I also had a different job and I wasn't working all day, and it was, my kids were a little bit younger. They didn't have quite as much going on. And so I published probably, I cannot remember for sure, but in the first 2 years, I published the first 3. And then I realized that I did not wrap it up well enough in the first 3. And I still had 2 antagonists that needed to die. So I needed another 3 books. And so that's where I've taken more time. I've tried to make my craft better, because I get people emailing me every day, and it's so surreal to me. I'm like, oh, you actually care about what I'm writing. Oh, well, crap. Like I was just throwing stuff at the wall, and now I have to actually put thought into this. This is a lot.
See, that's one of the reasons I absolutely love getting to do this, because the word surreal totally fits for me, because I realize you guys don't see yourselves as any kind of a celebrity or whatever. You're just regular people like the rest of us. And I get it that that's true. But as a fan, when I read a book by someone and it's really well done, I can't help but to get that little bit of starstruck, and like interacting with you. And of course, obviously interacting with these 2 guys, it just still, when I see you in person or, in person this way and get to talk to you, I'm like, damn, that's the person that actually wrote that. Really? Because you guys craft things in such a way to where it's hard not to see you as almost a celebrity. Like, we're fans, and if you've got fans, then you got to be some kind of famous, even if it's in our small little circle.
Yeah,
we just make more money.
Yeah, I know, right? Right.
As a reader too, yeah, I agree with that totally. I mean, you get to that point, after a while, you interact enough and you get to be, friendly as well as, someone that, you're like, wow, you're still really, really, really talented. Because I don't have that talent gene, and Jack probably would agree. He probably doesn't either. So
I do good to write a review.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Trying to just get that out is like so hard. But I think just knowing how hard it is for us to do that, and that you guys make it seem so easy, that just is part of that factoring in, like, that awestruck, feeling that we get, when we talk to you guys. It's like, wow, I could never do this in a million years.
Yep.
I didn't think I could either. That's
same here.
Same here.
Yeah.
Same here.
And
all you guys tell us that too, and it's just like I actually gone and wrote a few things in an outline, and I'm like, no, this is really bad. No one's ever gonna see this.
I think that's the scariest part about the idea of trying a new genre, going back to what Angel had asked about going to a different genre, is because I think that for an indie author who's never done anything before, my series is done well. And I'm like, oh, and I had bad reviews. It's fine. Like, it happens. Like, I think my favorite one was some guy telling me that that's not how zombies work. And I was like, cool, dude.
Boy.
Like, it's one of those ones you really want to respond to and be like, can you tell me how they do work? You've met them, right? Is that what you're telling me?
Meet them in person, right?
You
You've
can't
met them in
ignore the
person.
science.
Right. What's science? Like, that's why I like zombie, because I can make the science whatever I want, But so I've been able to maintain decent reviews and everything on my books. And I'm like, if I do this again and it doesn't go well, like, am I going to keep doing this, or is this going to make me feel so bad that I'm not going to write anymore? Because I think that no matter how many times I do this, I still think it's crap. I just keep telling myself, I think we think it's crap. I have the worst imposter syndrome. And I think that probably also makes it difficult to write, because I'm like, oh, this is crap. Why is anyone going to read this?
I go for it or not too. I mean,
well, yeah, I think you all would probably to a point, but the thing is that you had the guts and you took the extra stuff, and that's never going to happen for me.
no, No, that's why we rely on you guys to keep putting them out there. So
That's
we
right.
got something to go read. Keep them
Yeah.
coming.
No
And
leaving.
I've stated this in previous episodes before. I have found more enjoyment from the indie scene than I ever got from the big name writers. And that's all I used to read. All I used to listen to was your Kings, your Kuntz, Benchley, Straub, all those guys. And once I found, Richard, and I found Javan, and I found Mark, and and now I'm discovering y'all are there with them. And in some cases, I would put y'all's books above what they've done. And I get it. They're legendary, The Stand and all that. But like right now with Merrill David's series that I'm currently listening to, I would not know that he was an independent, just an indie author, because he's so well spoken in the book and it's so well put together. The pacing's correct. Everything's just brilliant in it. And I don't know why more of you guys haven't gotten to go to that Kirkman level yet. While y'all keep getting overlooked. Why do you think that is?
Oh God, there's a lot to say about that. Unfortunately, I think that there's still a huge portion of readership and authors who think that if you're not traditionally published, you're crap. And that's BS.
Yeah.
I mean, 100% is BS. The problem is that with traditionally published, 98% of the books that get submitted to traditionally published, publishers are declined. 98%. I mean, it's huge. So you're telling me that out of all indie authors, all of us that write zombie, that none of us are worth traditionally, but that's bullshit. Sorry. I don't language. Sorry.
Yeah,
I
total
agree.
bullshit.
So, and I think when it comes, especially to zombie, you'll notice that a lot of the big names did their stuff, but then they stopped. Like they didn't keep going. Like you have, I mean, how many books does Javan have in his series? Like it's ridiculous, right?
He's working on number 10 right
10,
now.
right? Like
He's got
eight over here.
9 in the works, 10 he's working on. Yeah.
right. Like I've seen some that have like 20 books. I mean, like they just keep going with the same series and readers love that. But usually traditionally published authors don't. And you don't see a lot of new stuff coming out zombie wise from traditionally published companies. You just don't. And I think that there are some that feed into that negativity. Some traditionally published authors feed into that negativity.
Right.
You'll see it, you'll see it on Twitter and stuff. And I don't know how you get away from it. I really don't. I mean, is there stuff that gets thrown against the wall that's absolute crap? 100% there is. 100%.
Right.
And it makes us all look bad. And I hate it. But
That's
what are you
the
gonna do?
thing. And you took the words out of my mouth. You took the words out of my mouth just right there. You do have to traditionally publish authors that do produce bad crap, bad covers, just bad editing. And it makes me look bad because I'm over here trying to kill myself, trying to produce a good book. And I'm sure Jack will understand this analogy. It's like we're trying to be like the Tennessee Titans, one of the best teams in the NFL, but we're constantly compared to the New York Jets, who are garbage. I'm sure you understand that analogy.
Dan, thanks for bringing that up too, by the way.
Well, and the other thing is people not accepting or understanding how many mistakes and things that happen in traditionally published novels. They actually have an error percentage. And I think it's something like 20%. It's a huge percentage that they're allowed to have errors in their books. So when anyone like ever tries to call me out for a misspelling,
Right.
I really want to reach through my computer and punch him in the face, because I'm like, if you've ever read a Stephen King novel, if you've ever read a Dean
There's
Koontz
plenty
novel,
of them.
there are plenty of
Yeah.
mistakes in those
Yeah.
books, but because of that name, you would never, ever, ever say to them, "Oh, you misspelled this word." No one's going to Stephen King and telling him he wrote post-apoc wrong. No one's going to do that, right? Like,
Right.
But they'll do that to me 100%. And my novels may have less mistakes than their novels. So, I don't know when we're ever going to get around that hump. I mean, we've got indie authors out there making millions of dollars, like a year, like whatever. We don't need that. We don't need the attention. We'll just keep making our money. Not me. I'm not that, but I wish I was someday, maybe.
Yeah, you'll keep at it. You're going to get there. I got a feeling. I mean, you came on the show with Patty and the boys today. You're already heading in the right direction.
I hang out with all these boys all day and written undead. So it's like, it's nothing now.
Yeah.
The
And bless
marketing
you for
and
that.
advertising.
What did
the
you
marketing
say?
and advertising is probably the hardest part. That from my experience with my one whole book out there, it seems like I've done a lot
No.
more work on just getting it out there to people than I have actually writing the book. And I'm really not pounding the pavement like Javan does with the direct marketing and stuff. I'm really That's one of those things I keep telling myself I need to do more of, but
No, 100%.
yeah, it's tough.
I mean,
Well, and we don't have all the money that traditional publishers have. Like they have a ton of money to throw at
Yeah.
advertising and things like that. I think as indie authors, we have to find out what works and we need to stick with that, or at least try to, roll with the times, I guess. I've never been very good at marketing. I suck at it 100%. I'll admit that I'm not good at it. But I did finally, after all these years, finally get a BookBub deal, which took freaking forever. But it ended up being super worth it. And I got my book out there, and all my books were they were in the top 10 for like 3 weeks, I think, in zombie and teenage and young adult zombie.
right.
My first 4 books were all in the top 10 for like 3 weeks because of that. So we just have to figure out what works for us and then, use those. But it is hard because we don't have thousands and thousands and thousands of
Right.
dollars to throw at it.
Yeah, exactly. Money and of course, like you said, the bad reputation.
Mhm.
Yeah, that hurts. I mean, I try to think about it, but in the back of my head, I know it does affect us in some way.
Yeah, no, 100% it does. And it sucks, but it is the life that we're in. And I think that the more the indie publishing takes over, it'll get better eventually, I think.
Well, it's one of the things that I love about, well, in particular, we're just going to specifically talk about the Written Undead, but a group like that is the fact that you guys will talk to us. You will interact with us. It's not like if you were following Stephen King on Twitter and you send him a message, he's not saying anything back to you. It doesn't matter what you say. He's not going to respond. Like the first time I ever commented on a post in the official Mark Tufo fan club, and he responded to me, I almost fell off my chair. I was like, holy crap, he actually read my name, read my comment, and said something about it. And that matters. That matters a lot to us. And so bravo to you, to Richard, to Angel, because you guys do make it a point to interact with everybody. And that's got to help. I mean, in a way, that's its own direct marketing, because you touch base with someone that maybe hasn't checked out any of your books yet. And all of a sudden they're like, man, they seem pretty cool. I guess I'm going to have to go check this book out. And the next thing you know, you got them hooked.
Yeah, 100%. And I don't know, but I'm sure I can probably speak for everybody. I love it when readers reach out to me. I will respond to all comments if I see myself tagged in them. I will respond to any message, as long as you're not some dude trying to pick me up without a real profile. I will not respond to you if that's what you are. But
okay, wait, that was one time and it was by accident. That was actually supposed to go to Richard.
But I mean, because again, it's like the word surreal again. It's super surreal to me that people even want to talk to me. The best, I think, and it will probably forever live to be the best compliment I've ever gotten, is I had a woman who was pregnant email me, or she commented in one of my groups and asked if it would be okay if she named her baby after my character.
Oh,
and I
wow.
was like, are you kidding? That's the coolest thing I've ever heard.
Right.
Yeah, so once he was born and she actually did name him after my character, I sent him a book signed, I sent him onesies.
Nice.
I mean, because to me, it's like such a huge compliment. Like, I realize that readers think it's really cool, but to me, it's really cool too. So I love talking to people. I think it's great.
I can't wait for someone to reach out to me and say, hey, I want to name my baby Buford.
Hey, it might happen. Careful. Careful.
Never know. It could be a middle name. You never know.
Yeah.
Could be.
Rue Buford Rose.
Yeah. RBR.
So when you're not in the process of writing, what do you do in your spare time?
Oh God.
When you have some?
What spare time?
No, I was gonna say.
Well, so my oldest son is a Boy Scout, so I'm actually a assistant scoutmaster for that. This last year we got scuba certified, and we went to this last summer we went to the Florida Keys and did 11 dives out there. So that took a lot of my time this last year, because getting scuba certified, especially in the Pacific Northwest, is hell in a handbasket. It's freaking freezing, and doing open water dives it's cold. So that was a lot of my free time. But he's getting older now, and so I'm not quite sure how much Boy Scouts will be doing. And then like I said, I work full time. So there's that. I work for a medical nonprofit up here, and I love my job. I do, but I would love to be a full time writer. So that is my goal eventually. And I read a ton, but I read all sorts of stuff. I don't just read zombie, post-apocalyptic, that stuff. I read romance. I read thriller. I'm all over the board. I have a book club, that a mom's book club, and so we read a lot of random crap that is actually pretty interesting, but it's nothing I would ever pick up on my own. So yeah.
So what I guess, just to give some props out to somebody else at this point, who are you currently reading or listening to right now?
Oh shoot. Well, I'm listening to a nonfiction, writing nonfiction. Oh my God, why can't I think of the name of it right now? Hold on.
Oh, I hate when
Brain freeze.
Yeah. What is her name? Let's see. Story Genius by Lisa Cron. So that's what I'm reading nonfiction right now. It's actually pretty good for writers. It's because I don't plot. I try, it never works out. I plot and then I go off this other direction, and I'm like, why did I even waste my time doing that? So there's a way that they talk about how you should write with the beats so that you keep your readers involved in your story. So that's that. And then I just finished, I have books everywhere, by the way, like there's books all over my house. This one, The Other Woman by Sadie Jones, which is about a psychotic mother-in-law. So that's what I just read, but that was good. But yeah, I'm all over the board.
Cool. All right. Now, as far as like television entertainment and movies, do you have one that's just like your favorite of all time? You could watch it every single day.
Okay, this is the romance woman of me. Sorry. The Last of the Mohicans is my absolute favorite movie. Like,
hey,
Great movie.
Yeah.
Love that movie. Absolute favorite. I could watch it anytime it's on TV, or even if I'm just bored, I'll put it on. I love that movie. It's my
Hey,
favorite.
which version? The original or like the Daniel Day-Lewis?
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Oh,
Sorry.
Daniel Day-Lewis, hands down.
I mean, come on. Like, I don't think I've ever seen him hot in anything else. He is fantastic in that movie.
But that movie, right there, like, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Definitely my favorite.
So what's your favorite music style?
Oh, God, I don't know if I should admit this. My favorite music is country. I grew up with the original Merle Haggard, Dwight Yoakam. My parents listened to that stuff on vinyl, and I just never, even though they kind of changed and went to like R&B, and so I have always just loved country. That's what I do.
Even this weird poppy new stuff that's out there?
No, I like the Taylor Swift stuff. That kind of, I can't get behind that so much. I do love like Carrie Underwood, though her stuff kind of borders sometimes, but she has that voice. You can't really get around it. But like when Taylor Swift started doing this whole poppy thing, I'm like, what is this? Like, it doesn't, no, I'm not into that so much.
Haters gonna hate. Hate that song. Oh my God, I hate that song.
Yeah. No.
It's just beyond terrible. Let somebody else have a shot. Anybody got anything to say? Because I don't want to hog the whole thing here.
How many books do you have out in total?
I have 5 books out now and 1 novella. So, and they're all in the same series. And so I'm working on book 6 to close out this portion of the series.
Okay. Well, out of curiosity, see, Rich is doing his novella because it could potentially, if he put it in book 2, make the thing, gigantic.
Yeah.
So he's doing it that way. Is that kind of the reason you did a novella, or did you have an ulterior motive for doing the novella as opposed to putting it in one of the full books?
Okay. So remember how I mentioned that I didn't know what I was doing? There's that. So I wrote, so the first book I wrote, I was pantsing, of course, like I said, and I wrote a piece, my character in the main book, I said she's a mom, she's got 2 kids, and she's trying to survive the zombie apocalypse. And she needs to get from Las Vegas to Montana. And because her family has a compound there that would keep them safe. So that's her whole point. And on her way, she picks up these 2 teens, their mom in front of her gets killed by a zombie, and the kids are just there. And she's like, well, I can't leave them. So, but during the ending, they get separated and she's devastated. She can't even believe that she lost these kids and all this stuff. And they're gone for a week, but they show back up at the compound because I can't kill kids. I don't know about other writers. I can't kill kids. It's not something I can do. It's a mom thing. I can't do it. And so the kids show up because they knew how, they had directions on how to get in. So there's that week that's missing. And I had people saying, well, what happened to them? And I said, oh, I don't actually know. Let me figure that out. And so I wrote a novella from the point of view of the teenagers of what happened
Okay.
to them during the week that they were missing.
Cool.
So it was not planned whatsoever. It just happened.
Well, as far as talking about the killing kids in a book, no spoilers here, but Meryl David.
Some people can. I can't write it, and I think it's an age thing, and I think it's that I have kids, and it's
Mhm.
I have seen a few horror movies that have straight almost made me walk out because it was so graphic, and I can't handle, like, it really upsets me, and it's just me, it's who I am. So my readers can be guaranteed to know that though of course there are zombie children out there, I most likely will not focus on them because it upsets me, so I can't do it.
What's the most graphic kill you have done?
Oh, I have a torture scene in book 4. Yes, it's called Torment. It's book 4. It's I actually had people messaging me. They were concerned about my mind because
Wow.
it's pretty graphic, and it is it's a scene where there's a drug lord that's taken over this area because he had the drugs, and so he had a lot of people that were willing to do whatever they needed to get his product. So they became like his little underlings, and he started this brothel, and one of his security men go against his wishes in the brothel, and he does a public execution, but he makes sure to cut pieces off before that. So
Ooh.
it's very graphic. Yeah, I don't even know where it came from. I my very best friend, she was like, I'm really concerned about you. And I was like, oh, me too sometimes.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh,
So have you had anybody you've had to kill off, to help keep the story flowing? Because this is something else I'm learning as I interact with you guys, because I'm one of these that just gets so bent when a certain character gets killed off. But then I've had it explained to me that there's reasons for that. It's like, yes, it's a great character, but the story must continue. Have you killed anyone off where you just felt like, damn, I didn't really want to have to do that, but I had to?
Yeah, and I won't do any spoilers because it was actually the last book, my 5th book.
Mhm.
I did have some people that were not thrilled with what I did. And but you know what? Like, my answer to that always is that not everybody's gonna live in the zombie apocalypse. Like, it is very unlikely that you're gonna have a solid group of people that are all of them are gonna survive the entire time. It's just not gonna happen. I killed one other main character book. I think we're talking book 4 again. I really was off my rails in book 4, I think. I did kill off a main character, but it was definitely to move along the story. And people weren't quite as mad about that. They saw the purpose in it, but the 5th one in my 5th book, they weren't super happy with me.
Okay.
Do you ever have anybody get on to you about foul language in the book?
I don't use a ton of foul language. I use it naturally because in my mind, it's funny because I know that some people in Written Undead, I think possibly authors, have watched the post-apoc panel that happened at the 20 Books conference, and they actually brought up foul language and about how a lot of them are cleaning up their books. And I thought, in an apocalypse situation, especially if you're you're facing zombies, my first word is not going to be, oh my geez. No, it's not.
No.
Like,
It's gonna be the
I'm
F-bomb.
definitely, it's going to be the F-bomb. Like, that's so, but I don't go crazy with it. I try to make it as natural as possible. I don't just have people, I know some people write characters that are just cursing as their thing, which is totally fine. Like, I don't have a problem with cursing. But I try to make it super natural so that it's just like in the middle of a fight or someone's really angry or scared, then I will. But I've never actually had anyone say that I use too much. I don't think I do.
Because my mom and my stepdad, Jerry, who's actually got a really cool character in the book, because my characters are based on real people. They can't get through the book because of the F-bombs. And
Oh,
so I went back and I looked at it, and I got, okay, it's like 169, almost 170,000 words in the book. Out of those books, I have 30 fucks.
that's it. That's nothing.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
That's nothing.
Fucks
Wow,
and
we-
fuckers and
That's
fuck-
not.
stuff like that. But
When I read the book, I didn't think you had a lot of cursing, so okay. I don't know.
Hey, what?
I guess.
I think everyone has their limit, like their level,
Mhm.
right? Like that they can take. But I did think it was interesting because there was quite a few pretty well known post-apoc authors. Kyla Stone was actually running the panel, and all of them said that they were moving towards clean. And I was like, how do you do that? Like I just don't. I don't understand. Like even in my normal life, and I have kids. The F-bomb is dropped numerous times a day in my normal life. If I'm faced with zombies, you are going to hear the sailor come out of my face because that's natural to me.
Right.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
I don't know.
I guess the big thing is it's not for them to be cussing every time. It's for it to be natural.
Yeah.
Because
Right,
I mean,
yeah.
there are some authors that just cuss just to cuss, and it does get annoying.
Javan.
I agree.
That's the thing.
I think
mean, a lot of
that there's
I was going to say a lot of my characters are veterans in the story. So, I mean, veterans use fuck like a comma sometimes. I know I do.
Yeah.
no, 100%. I do
Depends on the
too.
story,
Yeah.
to be honest.
Mm.
It kind of depends on the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the
Wow.
other thing that I kept in mind, Rich, and I don't know what you want to do like category wise, but the only zombie category that Amazon has is teen and young adult. And you have to be able to say, I think, that your book can be read by 12 to 18, I think is what it is. And I think if you have too much cursing, you wouldn't be able to get away with that.
Mhm.
But that was one of the things I also thought about because I wanted my book to be in a zombie category. And since there is no, I mean, you could put it in horror, but there's too much competition in that because it's all different things. And so when I wrote, while I was also keeping it natural and thinking also about what my children could read, because my oldest at the time was 13, I wanted him to be able to read it too. And he obviously knows what language is because he hears it out of my mouth. But I kept those things in mind. So you may want to think about that too going forward if you want your book in that category. You just have to think about that.
I have to clean up my cover too if I want to do an advertising campaign with Amazon. They said my cover art's too graphic.
Oh, well, that's stupid because they've got why can't I think, is it Kirkman that does the Walking Dead?
Oh yeah.
His stuff is not clean. He's
No.
got some pretty graphic covers. What are they? Oh, because of the name, so he's allowed.
Yeah,
guess.
probably.
Yeah.
And it all goes back to the traditional versus self-published. Yeah, it goes back to that.
Yeah, we have to walk a fine line sometimes when it comes to what we want to do, and that's more and more just of the craft side and the business side that you have to really focus on. And it does sometimes hinder some of the stuff you want to do. But what you could do is do like a special edition with the more graphic cover or something like that, so that you have the cover that you could use for advertising, but then have that special edition for people that want the graphic cover.
Yeah, because I love these covers that are up here. And like I said, if you could see Meryl's a little bit closer, it's gnarly with the face all drawn away. And then of course it's cartoony, but okay, yeah, so there's a zombie getting cut in half. What's a zombie Wendigo getting cut in half? What's the big deal? It happens in the book.
Person. It's a cartoon Wendigo.
Yeah.
How graphic could that be?
Well, the Amazon controls what we're allowed to do. And so while often we don't always agree with the decisions that they make, we have to play the game to be able to put our stuff up. So just a thought. That's all. That's some of the reason why I cleaned up some of my books. I mean, it still has some cursing. And like I said, my book 4, there's some stuff, and I put trigger warnings on it so people knew what they were going into. That so, and I haven't had any problems with it except for people being concerned about my thought process and thinking that I'm sick-minded, but that's fine. I write zombies, whatever.
I want you to be sick-minded. That's what makes the best stuff.
Yeah.
I just don't understand people wanting to edit things to that degree, because people have 2 options: buy the book, don't buy the book.
Mm-hmm.
Simple as that. If you buy the book, you read the book, and you don't like the cussing, then you don't buy the second book. It's not that complicated. People should be free with their speech to write how they want to write what they want to write, and put whatever they want on the cover because it's their art. Because I think that gets lost a lot of times, is that it isn't just a book. These are all art, from the cover to the words inside to the where it came from. It's all art, and art should not ever be censored, ever. Let art be art. I mean, I grew up, and I'm 46 years old, so I was around when the original gangsta rap came out. And then all of a sudden you've got that parental advisory sticker that has got to be stuck on everything. And then people are having to make two versions of one album. So you've got the dirty version and the clean version. It's like, man, forget all that. Let the artist be an artist.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I agree. But then at the same point, on the same token, those people, those artists that made two different versions, they're making more money.
Well, yeah. Two live crews is the one I really reference.
Yeah. So like, yeah, so there's that parental, and I don't mind trigger warnings, because I don't mind preparing someone to go into a story knowing what they're going into, especially because there are sensitivities out there, and I'm totally fine with that. 100%. I respect that. So trigger warnings, I think, are important. If you have something super graphic, or, you know, rape or domestic violence, or, you know, all those things that are considered trigger warnings, I have made sure that I give those warnings. And it really was just the one book. I was not in a good place during that book. I don't know. The rest of my books, I don't have it. Zombies, you know what you're going in for. But yeah, when it comes to like Amazon, because they arbitrarily make rules sometimes, it's a game, you know.
Always aiming for a moving target.
100%. That's what it is.
I'll clean up my cover art when Jeff Bezos makes his rocket look less like a giant penis.
Thank you.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. I mean, you have all that money and you couldn't make it not look like a penis.
I know.
Yeah, right.
That's probably what he was going for. Actually, it goes back to the George Carlin thing about, you know, why missiles all look like dicks. You're just like, oh, they got bigger missiles than us. You know, make a bigger dick.
Yeah.
You know, it was
That's
just
100%.
Make it bigger. Make it extra large.
Yeah. No. Yeah, it's hard, because I know that a lot of people look at Amazon as the enemy, and I get it. Like, there's a lot of employment issues, but for us indie authors, there's not a lot of, especially with post-apoc, I think keeping in Kindle Unlimited is probably the best in our genre. And, you know, so you kind of have to deal with the monster in one way or another.
Well, alrighty. Well, we are starting to near the end of this particular episode that I have thoroughly enjoyed. I knew you were going to kill it. I knew it. No doubt.
You.
This has been a wonderful show. And the way we always wrap these things up, I'm going to go round robin style around to the authors, get a quick note on what you're doing, where to find you. And this time we're going to start with Richard. What you got going, buddy?
All right. Working on my Wild-Eyed Southern Boys, book 1.5 novella, to be the prequel story of the Rougarou War. And if you've read my book, you'll know a little bit what the Rougarou War is. So you'll get some backstory on some of our favorite characters, and you'll also be something you want to read prior to getting into book 2. So plan to start the editing process next month. When I say next month, I mean December. It's just right around the corner. And hopefully get a January release on that. And then book 2, I'm going to hit the ground running on that one and probably have it out around the first early spring. So yeah, more adventures for Beeford and Rue. And so you can find me on Amazon, Kindle Unlimited, Goodreads, as far as book for digital and print, and also on Audible, iTunes, and Amazon for the audiobook.
All righty, Angel.
Yep. Yes. So I'm working on Betrayal the Canine 2 First Trial. It's my Dungeons and Dragons inspired adventure, with zombies in the Roman Empire. And as you can see, Jack is pointing up to the book 1, which is available on Amazon right now. And after I get that out, that should be coming out in January 2022. After that, I'll be starting a new series. Not sure what I'll be doing yet, but more details will come out when I'm working on that. You can find me on Amazon, Angel Ramon, if you want to catch up my zombie books, or Angelus Maximus if you want to read my historical fiction books. And you can find me here on the Written Undead with all my friends here, wonderful people here. And you can also find me on the Legionnaires of Angelus Maximus, which is my fan group. And you can also find me on Goodreads as well. All my book, my books are on Kindle and ebook, and some of them are Audible. I'm looking to get most of them done on Audible. All right.
Heck yeah. And I tell you that Legionnaires of Angelus Maximus is a fun group to be in. Not kidding you. It's fresh, it's new. And this guy is constantly putting up new historical information, fun facts, just all sorts of crazy stuff. So definitely get into that group if you're not already in it.
Yeah. Also, I'm looking to get some more stuff for my uniform, for my chainmail. I'm looking to get a shield, sword, all that good stuff.
Heck yeah. All right, Courtney, it has been an absolute pleasure. I've had just the most wonderful time with you here today. Where can we find you?
Thanks, Jack. No, I've had a great time. Thank you. So I'm working on book 6. Like I said before, you can find my Sundown series, the first 5 books, on Audible, and you can also find it Kindle Unlimited through Amazon. So I am not wide. I'm only with Kindle. So you can find paperback and the ebook on Amazon.
Awesome. Well, for Angel, for Rich, for Patty, and for Courtney, I'm Jack, and we're out of here. You can knock it down, Randy.
All right, later, guys.